Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another NTLkrayZ Shoutcast. Today's match is going to be between our pink Protoss player, Reezy, and our purple Protoss player, Silver. And no, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the Pro Silver. This is a different Silver who didn't realize that there was already a Silver out there. This game is from the Starcraft Arena Team League. This is a best out of 3 between Silver and Reezy. And as you can see, right there, Silver versus Reezy, game 1. Again, this is a best out of 3, ladies and gentlemen. We do have Reezy putting up a very, very nice pylon at 9. Looks like he's got his timing down quite well. Looks like we do have a pylon here for Silver as well, as they are both they are both scouting in the wrong direction and at about exactly the same time. If we look at their progress, should be just fine now. If they've shift clicked, they about shift clicked in the same spot as well. We do have another probe coming out. We're probably going to see a gateway here, as both players look like they know what their build order will be. Yes, there goes a gateway down, and a gateway down for them. So far, this is exactly the same. Let's see if these two players, how this will go, as this is a Protoss versus Protoss, which are always lending themselves to very interesting games. If not the most exciting games, they're at least interesting, and you get to see multiple techs. They are both getting their gas about the same time. We do have Reezy getting his pylon a little bit earlier than his opponent. It does look like we are doing a wall off here, which is a very nice thing to do. Helps you when you're against any sort of rush. We do have both players finding each other now, I believe, as it does look like Silver can see his opponent and is slowly chipping his way at this gateway. And Reezy does see his opponent as well. So all squared up, everyone can see everyone else, and we're doing a little bit of a probe harass here. Very, very entertaining, to say the least. We do have a cybernetics core going down for Silver, and it looks like he has actually supply blocked himself. He needs to get another pylon down, and it does look like it's going down. That should have been a little bit earlier. I think Reezy's was a much better pylon, and the reason being is he has not supply locked himself. And if we look at the unit tab, he should start to pick up in both probes, and he has a zealot out because he's not supply blocked. It does look like he was able to get out an extra 2 probes because of that. And he also has a Stalker and a Zealot, so that should be very, very large. Although, looking here, we do have 2 gateways now down instead of the 1 gateway for Reezy. So slightly different build orders, slightly different preferences. We do have a 3rd pylon out, so Reezy will not be getting supply blocked any time. We do have a 2nd gateway coming out for Reezy as well. Another probe continuing to scout, set on patrol scout. I've never seen this before. This isn't actually all that bad of a plan. It does mean that that you will be able to scout very, very, very effectively until that stalker comes in and ends all your scouting. Silver looks like he has supply blocked himself again, which does give him time to put down a Robo Bay, another pylon. That pylon should have probably gone down first in that order. He shift-clicked those. I would have shift-clicked the pylon and then these in whatever order he prefers, but get the pylon out first, as those extra seconds can mean a big difference. As we're looking here, as Reezy is pulling ahead even further in the probe count. So if you look at the income, Reezy should have a slight advantage, and he does. Going to the resources, both players are doing fairly well on their macro. Reezy is sitting a little gas heavy. I'd like to maybe see a couple sentries come out from him, as he has one out already. I'd like to maybe see another, as those can be fairly effective at blocking off one's choke. Very nicely done there. It does look like Warp Gate was... Yes, it was researched, but is not in use yet. I suggest that he put those unused as of immediately. That way then he can start pumping out either sentries, which are... He has enough for 3 sentries right now, and that's more DPS than if he were to get, say, 2 stalkers or anything like that. He is not using his minerals. He's sitting pretty high. He may be saving up. No, it doesn't look like he is, as he is pumping out another immortal. So it looks like he's saving up for immortal, but he still has a lot of gas. He could be pumping out sentries right now. That's one thing that you guys need to know, beginning players. When you have all this gas that you're seeing Reezy sit around with, you can pump a lot of sentries. If we look at what the sentries cost, they cost 100 gas and 50 minerals. That is very, very nice for getting rid of a lot of that gas for very little minerals, and they do a fair amount of damage. They do 6 damage, excuse me, 6 damage at 5 range for every 1 game second. That's not bad. It's not amazing, but that is an extra 5 points of damage every second for all this extra gas. Now, I wouldn't say all this if he were to put down, let's say, a robotics facility and go mass Colossus, or maybe even put down a Stargate and try and pump out more. It does look like he has used his gas on something. It does look like... I can't find exactly where he used all that gas, but it does look like he pumped out another sentry. Ah, he does have a Colossus on the way. Sorry, that's not a Colossus, that's a Stalker. I should learn my units a little bit better there. We are going to have a push out. Looking at the army tab, it does look like Reezy does have an advantage here, as Silver is forced to pull back, pumping more stalkers out. He could probably get another sentry out if he has the warp down. Another thing to note is that the sentries can put up that guardian shield, which is an extra 2 armor to every unit inside of that shield, which is huge. That is very, very big, as it reduces the amount of damage everything does by 2, no matter how hard they hit. And another thing to remember is when you're doing that, you're not turning units that aren't armored into armored units, which is very, very nice against units that do extra damage to armor, because you're putting up armor that they can't go through with using their armored attack. The army sizes have evened out here as the game progresses. Looking at the income tab, both players are relatively even. Going back to the unit, they're both sitting on 25 out of 25 probes. They could probably be pumping more probes, get a little higher income, and maybe try and expand. I'd like to see maybe Silver expand, as he has some map control, not much. I'd like to see him maybe try and take more. Maybe instead of placing his forces on that Selnaga Watchtower, but place them on this. It will help very, very much in just keeping tabs on this army, making sure he knows when they move out. Another reason I really like to see Mass Sentry, not only it gets rid of gas, but what it also does is you can force field, and that's very effective when you are against units such as the Zealots and Zerglings, and even somewhat to the Marines, because Marines have a relatively small range compared to the other ranged units. So you can use the force field to keep them back, and you're able to do much better. And you can also corral them and then storm. It does look like we have an observer for Silver coming in. He will quickly be able to see everything he needs to see here. It does look like he decided to take out his own pylon for some reason. I don't quite know the reasoning for that. Never mind. That very well may have been Silver's. It possibly could have been. I didn't check it. That's my bad. I am sorry. And it does look like he eventually went Colossus. So that's an okay. So it's okay that he had all that gas. I still think he should have used it more. Enough about the gas. I'm sure you're all sick of hearing about the gas. One thing that I think Silver should do here is he should be placing at least a Zealot on this Xel'Naga Watchtower while he's sitting there, because that will give him more sight around the area, and he'll be able to see if anything's trying to do a sneaky play around here, snipe this pylon, and then push. He is now taking the forward Xel'Naga Watchtower, very nicely done, keep his opponent at bay. We do have a couple... we do have a warp prism in, and it does look like he's warping in Zealots from the back. Does look like there's a couple pylons here. Very nicely done. Quickly, instead of going after the pylons, he's going to go for the probes. Good choice in units to take down. He does take down the gas, as a lot of players forget to put in the gas. That's one thing you need to remember as any race, is to remember to put in the gas. One thing to note is Reezy is now just getting his expansion up and running, and he just did a huge man-art, as this base does look like it is fairly out. Putting about 8 probes on this wouldn't hurt. It would keep his army up. It does look like we have a second attack coming in here, a 2-pronged attack. Draw the force back and then attack again. It very well looks like this could be a very devastating push for Reezy as Silver continues to push hard. The color choices are a little hard for me to distinguish in this quick battle, but it does look like Reezy's Immortal will be going down. But no, he is very nicely able to pull that back. Great micro coming in. These Zealots do need charge. If they would have charge, they'd be much more effective against the Stalkers, as the Stalkers are able to just kite them around everywhere they want to go. Looking at the army tab, it does look like Silver has a higher army tab, and we do have another back-end warp-in drop thing coming in from Silver. Very nice. Another 2-pronged attack. Very nice using this 2-pronged attack, multitasking. Very nicely done. If we look at the losses, Reezy is falling behind in the losses as Silver is slowly gaining the advantage. Can these 2 Zealots take out that? No, they cannot take out the Forge. Maybe a couple cannons here would prevent a lot of this harassment coming from this side. Going back to the army tab, Silver has a much larger army. I'd like to see a proxy pylon placed here, able to reinforce much quicker. These Stalkers need to move up. As these Zealots are continuing to do tons and tons of damage, more Zealots coming in for Reezy, as he is slowly but surely able to hold this attack off. 2 more gateways coming down as he is sitting on tons and tons of gas, able to pump tons and tons of Zealots. More Stalkers coming in, able to hopefully take down many of these probes, as these probes are quickly being moved up here. This will not be very good. Is not a good sight for Reezy. If Silver is able to lock down this expansion, he will be in very good situation. I'd like to see Silver expand now that he has obvious control. It is very obvious that he has the map control. He is on the offensive. He is sitting at 500. Nope. Now he's sitting at 70 resources. I still think that those couple resources would have been much better spent by just placing an expansion, especially here. If he's able to take these units, attack down this rock, he can take the high yield expansion and it'll be much safer. It'll be able to hold this attack pressure for a much longer time. The attack pressure will be slightly less for a very short period of time, but it shouldn't be... Oh, huge mistake there. Did you see that, ladies and gentlemen? If not, rewind it. But it does look like Reezy accidentally attacked his own Nexus. That's a huge micro mistake. Does look like these Stalkers are not quite able to range on the Nexus, but able to hit any of the Zealots that face here. So a little bit of blink micro should be very effective as they take out one more Zealot. Like I said before, look at his minerals. They were just at 500. He could send these units instead of having them sit here and do nothing, attack right here. He is taking this expansion. I still think the high yield would have been a better expansion, and he obviously can't control it. A blink down. This might have been a mistake, ladies and gentlemen, as these Stalkers look like they are going to fall until Blink can recharge. Can Blink recharge? Yes, it is able to recharge, and he's able to move. We might need to see a Observer come in for Reezy, or maybe even another Colossus. That way then he can have sight up to here and do damage. It does look like he has an observer of his own, as these two observers are keeping tabs on each other, and oh! Reezy's observer goes down first. That was key, as both of these observers can detect each other, and whoever can get the other observer down first will have a huge advantage in this battle, as right now, Silver is able to, excuse me, able to exploit